A bipartisan group of senators, including the Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, meantime, are now planning to visit China, Japan, and South Korea next week, addressing economic and national security interests in the region. So joining us to put it all in context is Mark Kennedy. He's a former congressman from Minnesota, now the director at the WABA Institute for Strategic Competition, which looks to strengthen American leadership through policy. So thank you, sir, for coming on. I want to take some of these issues one at a time and then kind of speak broadly about the United States and China. But on the fentanyl issue and these new sanctions, put those in context for us if you can. What'd you make of the sanctions on fentanyl?
Well, we have been pressing China for a long time to crack down on the precursors, the chemical precursors coming into Mexico, and then from Mexico through the drug chains into the United States. They say they are, but they're still happening. And clearly, with the number of deaths that are going on across America, this is a crisis proportion. So I think what the Justice Department is doing, and Treasury Department is also putting on their own sanctions, going after those that they have identified that are bringing those precursors in is a correct action. How effective it can be is another question. It'd be better if China would just do a better job of cracking it down on their side of the ocean.
Right, which might be too much for us to ask for, I guess, in some ways. The other story, we have a senior national correspondent here, Brian Enton, who's been doing a number of reports on the fact that China's going around the U.S. and buying up a lot of land, particularly farmland, rural farmland. And there's a group of people in Illinois who we spoke with. The situation is that China's bought this land. They're putting a battery plant there, and people spoke to NewsNation about what they make of that. Let me play that for you, and then we can come back and talk about this issue. Here it is.
I think this is a terrible idea to put this plant here. I don't trust the Chinese, both as a veteran, as an American citizen.
You should be ashamed of the fact that you want to reward China with a piece of the United States.
By allowing a communist Chinese battery plant onto our soil, you, the village board of Manteno, are failing more than just the people of Manteno. You're failing our country.
Okay, so people obviously there, at least not happy with this. What would you say?
Well, we are not at war with China. We are trying to keep it in competition and not going to conflict. So I think there needs to be a parceling of saying, is there a real risk with what's happening? If China was buying our technology and taking our technology to get an advantage on us, that would be one thing. In this case, with the battery plant, they're bringing in their own technology, and we are behind China when it comes to batteries for electrical vehicles. So we're gaining something by this. I think all of these investments need to be examined with what risk is it posing to the nation. If it's right near a military base where they can be observing something that we want to be keeping not observed, that's a concern. But I think they need to be examined on a case-by-case basis and balancing what are we gaining as the United States, what risk are we putting at risk in these types of situations, and if it is something that risks our national security, that's something we ought to be taking very seriously. Okay. But it's not clear that this is taking that type of a step.
As a final point, then, you mentioned in the introduction that Senator Schumer has this trip planned to Asia, which will include a stop in China. There are reports that the Biden administration might be working on a summit. President Biden and Xi Jinping, the president of China, may be coming to the United States in the next couple of months. What do you make of how the engagement, I mean, as you point out, these are the two largest economies in the world, the engagement with China is going right now, and what should we be doing differently?
Well, right now you are having a string of engagements. We've had several cabinet members go over there. There's talk of senior Chinese officials coming here. This is all a prelude to the president and Xi Jinping meeting in Los Angeles later on this year. I think it is good to have engagement. We're not giving anything away by having our senators going there. In fact, they're able to meet with U.S. businesses on the ground in China, understand their concerns, and as they meet with Chinese officials to press those concerns. Right. There's going to be a difficult balancing act, but having engagement to keep it in the competition phase and not accidentally going into the conflict stage is part of why this engagement makes sense.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.